You can't just blame South Africa. It's a global phenomenon. It has been done even to their friends and foes. It's not only a South African phenomenon.
I think we should leave that to those that seek to score political points as opposed to finding solutions to the challenges that we have.
The battle negotiation of the trade relationship between the government of South Africa and the one of the United States of America, it has failed. It has failed only for one good reason, which left millions of South Africans in a very high position that will make many South Africans lose their jobs, that will make the economy of South Africa collapse. Are you aware about that? I doubt you do not know. Now, this have left South Africans with many questions in mind, such as, what is it that's supposed to be done that we could not do on time in order for us to avoid all this scandal? What impact will this have on South Africa economy and people of South Africa? And what is it that we need to do in order for us to avoid this kind of drama in the future? These are the questions which we'll be discussing with you in this video. But before everything, I'm first inviting you to watch this video I'm about to play for you more careful. Then I'll be back with more analysis.
It is not out of cowardice that we have refrained from responding, even under very extreme provocation. It was because of our understanding of the complexity of the geo-environment, because we are talking about the livelihoods and jobs of people that are at stake. So that's why we're focused on the ball, on the negotiations, on the framework, and we did not want to focus on the speculations, whether it's because of BEE or affirmative action or any other politics that has not been brought to the negotiation table. So we focus on what we have presented to the US government, and we believe we're dealing with that. We have yet the speculations from those that have visited Washington, who have told us that these are the issues that they were told, but those issues are not in the feedback and what we have on the table with regards to the framework that we have submitted. And you will know there were also other issues before we went to Washington. And also those other issues are also not in this framework that we're dealing with. So we prefer to deal with what is in front of us at these negotiations, so that we separate facts and other things that we hear in the streets. So that is what we are currently dealing with, and that's why we remain open to engage with the US on the basis of this framework. And we will keep our eyes on the ball and focus on this discussion, because livelihoods, jobs, the economy is at stake, and we have to manage that in a responsible way.
That is Minister Ronald Lamola, who's one of the members that was negotiating this trade relation between South Africa and the government of the United States of America. It did not only stop there, because he even went far by saying that this is not all about South Africa, but it is global phenomenon.
It's a global phenomenon. It has been done even to their friends and foes. So the issue is whether with us we can find each other, and that is what we are working on, to hopefully at some point find each other with them on this issue.
According to Minister Lamola, this is not something which South Africans need to stress much about it, because it is not only South Africa who's having this problem, but it is global problem. Donald Trump have attacked the entire world. That is according to Ronald Lamola. But it did not only give that as an excuse. This time even went far by attacking the member of the government of the National Union, or should I say the GNU, when he said this.
And as Minister Dawe has said, we are not in the sprint or game of political scoring. We have seen the political parties doing cheap political scoring on this matter that involves the lives of our people. particularly some of the partners in the GNU, which does undermine this process. Because our view is that when you are dealing with such complex issues, all South Africans should speak in one voice, in the national interest, whether opposition or in the GNU or in government or outside government or NGO or in business. We must all speak in one voice to promote the national interests of South Africa. Because if there are any implications, all South Africans will be impacted. So we all have a responsibility and a duty to protect and promote the national interests of the country. So that is the approach that we have taken, to be measured, to be responsible, to be very factual, to focus on the goal. And the goal is to, at some point, hopefully, find some agreement with the US government on the unilateral tariffs that they've imposed to us.
Ronald Lamola, he called for South Africans to promote the interest of South Africa. We can all have an idea to whom was he referring here, because we all know that those ones who claim to be South Africans, but yet they never advocate for South Africa. They never put South Africa first, but they put themselves first and their own interests. Now that the US with Donald Trump, they have armored the South African economy, we can only imagine who will be affected the most by all this. So Ronald Lamola, he called South African to be united and to speak good for this beautiful nation. Here's one very important thing that I want to share with you. And this time, I'm taking you to the people who were right in the front line of this negotiation, and try to understand to what they have to say on what had happened, what exactly happened during this trade relationship between the two country negotiation. Have a listen.
We engaged with the US government that committed and said, look, we need you to wait a little bit. And this was in Angola almost a month ago. Wait a bit, we'll send you a template that's applicable to countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And then you can start the negotiations from there. And this is notwithstanding that we had given our draft framework deal or our proposed framework deal to the US. And we waited for the template. We followed up and we got to a point where there was an agreement, in fact, that South Africa please sign a confidentiality agreement, which confidentiality agreement would unlock the discussions. We signed the confidentiality agreement. We did not get a signed confidentiality agreement on the other side. We then went back and said, almost on the eve of the tariff announcements, said, look, we've been waiting for the template, we've been waiting for the confidentiality agreement. What do we do now? We are 2 days before the announcement. Well, what do we do now? And the feedback is, look, you know what, at this point, let's look at the template as a red herring at this point. Please give us an offer and we will respond. And no, that offer should not be a negotiating offer. It should be an offer of what South Africa offers, and not what South Africa would want to negotiate in return. Give us what you are offering us and we'll come back to you. Now, it's a very difficult negotiating platform to enter into when you are in that situation, because you are going to give an offer which we have indicated. Certainly it's an offer that we're working on together with various industry sectors and departments to finalize. But that doesn't mean it doesn't come at a cost. Any offer you make, especially because you're not going to get a counter offer, you have to realize that actually there's a price you're going to pay for that offer. And we've been working on that, as I said, with industry and saying, okay, what can this industry offer? What can you accommodate? What can you do? But even when you're in that situation, part of your reality is that you actually don't know what tariff you're going to get even after making that offer. So we can only make an offer and sit and wait and hope. That's part of the reality.
One of the journalists who was there in that press conference had asked Minister Ronald Lamola to know what happened to the South African ambassador who was being expelled, because we all know that the Donald Trump administration, they had expelled South African ambassador because he had to challenge Donald Trump on some things that he had said concerning South Africa. And this man was removed and being chased away from his position as the representative of South Africa in the United States of America. So they had to ask Donald Trump this question to know, is it because we don't have an ambassador over there, and why is it taking so long for South Africa to nominate a new ambassador in the US? Well, Ronald Lamola, he had to say this in return.
We had an ambassador in the US, and that ambassador was expelled. I must also hasten to mention that while ambassadors do play a role to point to the key players, decision makers, and so forth, ambassadors do not negotiate any trade deals. The trade deal is being negotiated under the leadership of DTIC, obviously with our coordination and support from DERCO. So they are the people negotiating the trade deal. It's not our ambassador in Washington.
Now, after listening to all this, tell me something. Do you think we have done our best when it comes to negotiate between these two countries? Do you think the team of South Africa, it was well being presented by these individuals? Because guys, whether we like it or not, let us not be fooled. Why? Because these things is having a serious impact on South African economy right now as we are talking. And it's just a matter of time. You'll see for yourself how many people are going to lose their jobs. Do you know how many jobs that we are going to lose? Because according to the Labor Department, they had already started estimating already of the number of the 30,000 jobs which will have to be lost just because of all this.
The number of jobs likely to be affected. We base this on the ongoing consultations that we have with all the sectors of the economy, from automotive, agriculture, and all the other sectors that are going to be impacted. And at this stage, we are sitting at approximately 30,000 jobs that could be affected by this if it were to be mismanaged in any manner. But we are looking at 30,000 jobs that could be affected at this stage.
Now, here's the thing. First of all, we have to agree that the team, which I don't know whether it's the president, obviously, that's supposed to be him because he's the head of the state, that the team that he had put on place in order to negotiate with the US, I think something was not okay about this team. I'll tell you why. Do you guys still remember when President Ramaphosa had to go to the United States of America to meet Donald Trump about these so-called allegations of white minority in South Africa being blah, 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 blah. You know the story. As President Ramaphosa was going there, did you guys notice the team which he went with? Did you guys still remember? Do you guys still remember what was the outcome of this team? Because whatever is happening right now, it's showing actually the failure of this first team which went to the United States of America with President Ramaphosa, whereby it took people such as John Stenizen, who went there and even failed to have a easy conversation to convince Donald Trump on what this so-called AfriForum they have said already concerning South Africa. He went on there and bringing Donald Trump friends, whom we all know that these people, they are businessmen. And even if they have to communicate with Donald Trump, what they'll say in front of cameras is not what they've been telling Donald Trump behind backs. Besides that, we still also remember the time when President Ramaphosa, they played a video of some mass grave in South Africa, which himself was even lost. He did not even have a clear idea by just looking at that video and getting the courage to tell Donald Trump immediately that this is not my country. We don't have such kind of a mass grave in South Africa. This should be somewhere else, and I can prove you wrong if you give me 5 or 10 minutes. I'm gonna show you where those videos are coming from. When Donald Trump was busy maybe showing him some newspapers of people being killed, President Ramaphosa with his team, which he had brought over there in the US, they should have stand and said that, no, Mr. President, no, that is not in South Africa. These images are not coming anywhere in South Africa. These images are coming from countries such as DR Congo, DRC, or South Sudan, where we all know that these things has been happening there for some times. But unfortunately, no one could not have that kind of thinking to react immediately. Donald Trump step on them, says whatsoever he wanted to say. He could not even give them a chance to speak. That already, it was a very strong message. It was actually a sign which President Ramaphosa with his team, they should have noticed already that if we have to negotiate with these people, we need to be smart than them. That's number one. Number two, we need to have a transparency whereby we need to communicate with our people back home. They must tell us, they can even suggest us with people who have the brain, smart brains, people who can come and defend the nation. Unfortunately, that kind of transparency was not there. Unfortunately, President Ramaphosa with his team did not take note of that. They thought maybe they had convinced Donald Trump, but they failed.